She was a child who needed a permanent home and had already found it with them. We expected to have a rotating crew of lovable misfits. Antoine laughed, but instead, we had 3 kids who left permanent stamps on our lives. Family is God's design. One man, one woman, raising children with the balance of a father's strength and a mother's nurture. That's not my opinion, that's scripture. I was once asked the question of what the Bible had to say about same-sex couples adopting children. Great question, I might add. But it's a question that most Christians don't want to answer head on because they don't want to be condescending, flippant, judgmental, hateful, spiteful, and or even simply be canceled by someone who might be angered by their expressions, biblical worldview, or opinion. Sadly, that is the case today for many people. They are afraid to answer questions because they don't want to deal with the pushback or the blowback that might come. But it's a good question. What does the Bible have to say about it? And how should Christians respond to the idea of whether or not it's God's intended design and plan for a child to grow up in a home without both mother and a father? I was thumbing through Smart News and I stumbled upon this article right here entitled "A Gay Couple Became Foster Parents as a Temporary Way to Do Good. Instead, it reshaped their lives." So I just want to get into this article for a little bit. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll give you the gist of it. It says, when Antoine and Nate Chavis became parents, and I'm just guessing who Antoine is. I guess Antoine is the black guy, and Nate might be the white dude. All right, I'm guessing. Bear with me. It wasn't through the path they first envisioned. Together for 12 years and married for 8, the couple stepped into foster care in 2017. So they have been foster parents for the past 8 years. Imagining they would provide a temporary safe place for children in need, what happened instead reshaped their lives, expanded their definition of family, and eventually led to adoption. We didn't actually start out planning to adopt, Antoine explained. We just wanted to be resource parents, a stable place for kids until their families were ready to have them back home. But adoption kind of found us. Over the years, they welcomed multiple long-term placements. Each child carried their own story, resilience, and needs. Some stayed a while before moving on. One became their daughter. She was a child who needed a permanent home and had already found it with them. We expected to have a rotating crew of lovable misfits. Antoine laughed, but instead, we had 3 kids who left permanent stamps on our lives. And so the story just uncovers their journey towards, being a place for temporary placement for children to then ultimately adopting one child, a little girl. All right. And so what does the Bible have to say about all of this? And how should Christians respond? Okay. That's the question at hand. Family is not man's design. Family is not the government's design. Family is God's design. One man, one woman, raising children with the balance of a father's strength and a mother's nurture. That's not my opinion, that's scripture. Genesis tells us a man leaves his father and mother and does what? Unites, becomes one with his wife. Now, looking at this image right here, there's only one girl in this picture. It's the little girl. It's the daughter that they adopted. But these two men can't be a wife. Why? Because they're males. They're called to be husbands. But the Bible endorses a man and a woman coming together and joining together, and the man leaving his family and the woman leaving her family as well, and them becoming one. Genesis tells us that a man leaves his father and mother and unites with his wife. I want to drive that point home. Ephesians tells us that children should honor father and mother. So there's no confusion there. So in this situation right here that you're seeing in this image, how can the child honor the father and the mother when they're being taken care of by two men? Now today, culture wants to rewrite the blueprint. You've got same-sex couples stepping into foster care and adoption. And yes, some of them on the surface attempt to show love and stability. Nobody's denying that kids in crisis need safe homes. They do. They've been abandoned. They need shelter. I get it. But let's be real. God's order matters the most. Children deserve not just two adults, but the unique balance of a father and a mother. Yes, I said that. Look at Italy. They just banned same-sex couples from surrogacy. Why? Because even lawmakers recognize that kids have a right to both a mom and a dad. This isn't about denying adults what they want. It's about protecting children from what they'll miss. What will they miss? If there's no mother in the situation or in the equation, the children will not be properly nurtured. That's what they'll miss. Now, what happens if the father isn't there? Then they won't receive the necessary strength that comes from a dad, that protector, provider, priest of home mentality. They'll miss that. And so, because here's the truth. Love is powerful, but love outside God's design can never replace his plan. When you strip a child of either the masculine or feminine model, you tilt the balance of their future, and society will pay the price. So let's talk about God's design for the family. Genesis 2:24 says, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Marriage is designed between male and female, forming the foundation for raising children. What's the role of parents? Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1-4. Children are commanded to honor father and mother, not two fathers or two mothers. God's design reflects a balance of masculine and feminine authority and nurture. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, parents, both mother and father, are called to train up a child in the way he should go. Warnings against same-sex behavior that has to be pointed out. Romans 1:26-27. Scripture identifies same-sex relations as contrary to nature, leading God to turn these people over to having reprobate minds. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9-10, you will clearly see that same-sex relationships are listed among behaviors outside of God's order. So the importance of male and female parental roles. Fathers bring authority, protection, and modeling for sons and daughters. Boys learn healthy masculinity. Girls learn how to relate to men in a secure way. Mothers bring nurture, compassion, and unique relational bonding. Boys learn respect and gentleness towards women. Girls learn feminine identity and strength. Without both, children may experience imbalances. Studies show higher risk of confusion in gender identity, emotional regulation, and relational modeling when one sex is absent. The child grows up missing the other half. Let's take a look at some other countries. Several European and Asian nations restrict adoption or surrogacy for same-sex couples to preserve traditional family structures. And so, are same-sex households safe for children, you might ask? My personal opinion is, how do you determine safety for a child outside of God's order and design? Now, Antoine and Nate, the two gentlemen in this story, pull their picture up. They will tell you that yes, their home is safe. And yes, they're providing the best atmosphere for a child. But what they're offering is what one might call temporary love. But Scripture calls us to more than temporary love. It's God's order that matters the most. A home can provide safety, yet still not align with God's design. Children deserve not only love, but the balance and modeling of both male and female parents. Then there's also many potential risks. Higher likelihood of children growing up without clear models of male/female dynamics in marriage. That's a problem. Cultural pressure to affirm lifestyles that contradict biblical truth. That's a problem. The risk of children inheriting confusion and identity formation. That's a problem. And, the occasional story that we read about on the news, where some dastardly same-sex couple takes advantage of said children. So children deserve a father and a mother, not just two parents. Same-sex couples may provide safety on the surface, but God's design is the ultimate safe place. And so we need to look to Italy and other European countries as we consider our framework in America. I honestly think that same-sex couples should not be allowed to adopt. But I want to add to that, think that people who give birth to children should be responsible and not turn your child over to the government to figure out who's going to be the mama and who is going to be the so-called daddy. The only way that these gentlemen, and I say that kindly, had the opportunity to adopt these children is that someone gave them up. I want to say to the people out there, as you make decisions of what you're going to do with your vessel and how you protect your vessel, how you handle your body, and how you engage in sex, just keep in mind that you might be making it easier for a child, your offspring, to grow up in a family that does not mimic God's order and design for the home. Children deserve both a father and a mother. Let me know what you think below, my friends, in the comment section. Am I right or am I wrong? Am I weak or am I strong? God bless you and God bless America. Take care.